Hi, it's Gareth Hollis. Welcome back to Everything You Never Needed to Know About Me. And quick trigger warning again, still waiting to hear about depression and assault. Randomness due to random number generator tells me what order I'm doing things in. Just in case you've jumped in straight to episode. I've forgotten what episode we're on now, actually. I keep saying maths isn't one of my strong points, but counting to about 15 probably ought to be up there. Probably is about episode 15. So going to be using the random number generator then to say what I'm going on to next, which is 41. All right, 41 is a song. It's actually not one of my songs. This is my youngest daughter wrote a song called My Love Is Gigantic. So I kind of feel I've spurred something on there. I've ignited that spark of creativity within her. She's seen me writing loads of songs and singing loads of songs, and she's decided that she wanted to do one of her own. And she did it pretty much on her own, actually. I helped her out with a couple of the rhymes and a couple of the sort of trying to make sense of a few bits, because she struggled to express a couple of the bits that in a way that actually made sense. And then I've recorded her singing it. I put it on YouTube, and it got generally, quite positive feedback on it. So who knows what the future holds for her? So maybe at some point you'll hear of her making a name for herself. So I've got at the moment some of my songs which are being worked on by a guy in India, a producer who's currently working on 3 of my songs and then doing the Christmas songs afterwards. And he's also going to be making music, so my daughter will also have My Love Is Gigantic as a song with music on that she can then really go to town on and practice singing it properly and get it in tune properly, because it was a bit of an amateur effort at the time, and she was nervous because the first time really being on camera doing anything like that, and like scared of what her friends would think, and you know how kids are. So that's what she's been doing for that, and then she can make her own like proper music video, and we can put it out there, and it may come to something, it may come to nothing, but at least she's trying. And I wish I'd had these kind of opportunities when I was younger, in all honesty, because who knows where, what could be different today. But then I also wouldn't be the me I am today. So I suppose it's not all bad. You can't wish your life away, or wish things were different, because then you wouldn't be the same person. You wouldn't appreciate the fact it was different. I suppose the grass isn't always greener. Watch this space, and maybe you'll see her as a future star. Maybe not. I'm not going to push her. That's up to her if she wants to write any more songs. I mean, she's always singing songs and things that she makes up without actually writing them down. Some of them are better than others, in all honesty, but she's 9 years old. You can't expect too much from her. And like, out of my 2 children, she doesn't do a lot of reading, so she hasn't got the vocabulary at the moment that will allow her to make the better songs. But as she grows, as she gets older and like takes on other, she'll obviously have to do a lot more reading for school, whether she likes it or not. And if she knows she's got an interest, then she can take up music, which is something I never really did at school. And maybe something could come of this. So My Love Is Gigantic. It will be, I'll put a decent version of it on YouTube at some point. And she's on about starting her own YouTube channel as well, which she wants to call Crafty Chloe. I don't know if that name's even already taken or if she's looked into it, but she wants to do a video doing loads of crafty things like making cakes and making stuff out of rubbish, which seems to be what she enjoys doing. So I think I've exhausted My Love Is Gigantic. Future number 1, probably not, but watch the space, why not? 37. 37 is another song, Keep Falling, which is one I've kind of wrote as a spur of the moment thing. So I was, it was at the start of isolation, the lockdown due to COVID-19, and on one of the singer-songwriter groups, there was a post up about, let's write a song, and based on a certain theme, and they decided that theme was going to be falling. So I wrote this song, and I thought I'm quite happy with this. I'm quite happy with how it's turned out. And then I went to post it and realised that I'd misunderstood the post, and it wasn't writing a song. It was just writing like a line. And I looked through the song and thought there's not really any line here that, as a standalone line, has any kind of like meaning to falling. But yeah, I liked the song anyway, so I decided to keep it, and it's got like a good bit of repetition in it, which I think could, and other people who have seen it have said, okay, yeah, I think this could make actually quite a good rock song. So it's on the YouTube collaboration wanted playlist, lyrics only playlist. So maybe at some point someone will make something. Depending on what the future holds, maybe I'll do something with it. Maybe I'll learn to play guitar, or maybe I'll have the money or the contacts that I can get someone else to make it. But at the moment, it's just sitting there as a lyrics only song, with me singing it poorly, as seems to be my way. So I think that's that one exhausted. 26. I don't know why I keep saying the numbers, because obviously they're not going to mean anything to you, because you haven't got a reference list of these. 26 is my wedding. Well, I say my wedding, our wedding. Not me and you, like me and my wife, because I can't marry all of you. I think there's laws against that, and honestly, like, if you've been married once, why would you do that to yourself twice? I don't understand these people who cheat. Like, it's just punishment. Maybe I'm looking at marriage the wrong way. I got married, it was just before I turned 25. I'd just finished basic training at the time. My wife was 18 and a half-ish. She'd organised the majority of it. I got married just after my dad had... I got engaged just after my dad had got engaged for the 4th time. Those shouldn't be difficult numbers. So because I was in basic training, my wife ended up organising the majority of it. Well, between her and our families organised the majority of it. I didn't really have a lot of a hand in it. And then we got married just after I finished basic training, like a week afterwards, to the point where if I'd been held back in basic training, it could have had some serious problems, which is why I ended up maybe not going sick when I should have done, because of my knee. But yeah, you've got to roll the dice sometimes, I suppose. Play the cards you dealt. So in fact, pretty much it was saying about my dad getting engaged again. It was at their engagement party was where me and my now wife kind of became an item. At that point, I'd only been single about a week. So I met my wife when I was engaged to someone else, and then and she was going out with someone else, so sort of strange circumstances. Not just that she was going out with someone else, she was going out with someone who was one of my friends, who I'm still good friends with, actually. And they split up and we split up, and then me and his girlfriend got together and decided that actually this works. Where it made me realise, I suppose, what I didn't have before. So in fact, that was part of the reason I suppose I split up. It kind of made me realise that I wasn't happy. Although I was engaged, everything like on the surface seemed good. It made me feel made me realise I wasn't being appreciated, and that was part of the reason we split up. And then I can't remember if she and my friend split up before or after that, but then we got closer, was spending more time together, and then she came to my dad's engagement party, because at that point she was coming in the patisserie quite a lot to see me, so like they both knew her very well. My dad's fiance was also working at the patisserie, which is how they met. And they I remember her being upset that we ended up although they got engaged first, we ended up getting married first, but they got divorced first, so she won that one at least. And people at the time were saying, like, I'll give you a year, like, or they were assuming that we got getting married because my wife was pregnant, which she wasn't. and we've now been married for. Actually, I'm not sure how long. I really should know this. It'll be 13 years in September. We'll have been married, and we'd only been together for just shy of. It was either just under a year, or just over a year. There was a couple of weeks either way, and I can't remember which it was now. I think it was a year and 2 weeks that we've been together. So my wife organised most of it. So like her gran paid for her dress, which was about £300, which seems an obscene amount of money to be spending on something you're wearing once. But I know now that is considered quite a cheap dress, and I know like she got her shoes secondhand and things like that. So like save money where she could. The wedding vehicles we had were supplied by friends in our Volkswagen club. So we had Beetles and a beach buggy. So myself and my dad, I think it was, went in one Beetle. My wife then went in another Beetle, possibly with the bridesmaids. I can't remember now. And then the best men went in a beach buggy. And then the beach buggy actually broke down on the way to the registry office, which is, I suppose, testament to what happens when you rely on classic cars. But it was only the clutch cable had come out, I believe, and the buggy still made it to the reception. It made it without the best men, who ended up walking, which for the distance from where we were to the registry office was probably a quicker way than taking the road anyway. But that's life, I suppose. You don't do it just for that. I know when my dad got married, he actually bought a Rolls Royce for the wedding, and a friend drove it, and then he sold it again afterwards. I think he decided it worked out cheaper that way than actually hiring a car. So my best man, I couldn't choose just one best man. It was between my two best friends from school, who I'd say are still my best friends now. And I couldn't pick between them. One of them is the guy who I moved to Torquay with, who I lived with there with my girlfriend and her family, and still good friends now. The same friend who I used to play Worms on the PlayStation with and eat cheese sandwiches until late at night. And the other friend is the guy who lived in Hull, who said, you've got nothing to go back for. Why don't you stay here for a bit? And I ended up sleeping on his sofa for a good year. And in fact, he ended up moving out of that house before I did. But so that's they were good friends, and I'd still say they're good friends. And it's a shame actually that when that friend got married, that I couldn't go to his wedding, because unfortunately he chose the same weekend to get married as my sister got married. And as much as I love my friend, I had to pick my sister, especially since she'd come all the way from Australia for this wedding. Not that it would have been a close competition anyway, obviously. Yeah, I'd always have to pick my sister over my friend. And in fact, my friend knew my sister. Well, in fact, both of my friends, I think, had gone out with, I'd say, at least two of my sisters. And I know like some people would never let their friends go out with their sisters, but I suppose that shows the kind of people, the kind of guys they are, in that I didn't have a problem with it at all. I'd much rather that than them go out with some other dickhead. At least, I knew they were good people, nice people, and they wouldn't mess them around. In fact, I can't remember which sister it was, but I'm sure one of them threw up in one of my mates' car while they were going out. So, not really relevant actually, and completely irrelevant to me talking about a wedding. So we got married at a registry office in Horncastle. It wouldn't have been our first choice, but a lot of my wife's family, they don't leave Lincolnshire, and some of them won't even leave Horncastle. So we got married in Horncastle in a registry office. We wouldn't have really considered a church. We're not religious, and it would have looked nice in the photos and things, but that's about all there was to it. There wouldn't have been it'd have been hypocritical to have then got married in a church when neither of us has got any particular faith in God. I'm not saying God isn't real. I don't know. I don't think there's enough evidence to say there is a God. I think the term for it is agnostic. I believe there's a possibility, but I don't think there's enough evidence to support it. But there's also, to me, not enough evidence to support a definite no. I mean, I believe in science and the Big Bang Theory and all that, but at the same time, I'm not going to say 100% that's true, because we used to know the Earth was flat until someone proved it wasn't. We used to know for a fact that the atom was the smallest possible thing in the universe until that got split open and we found all the stuff inside that as well. So right now we know that it was the Big Bang Theory and evolution and things like that. I'm not prepared to say 100% that in 100 years we're not going to actually manage to disprove that. I'm open to believing everything the same, and everyone should be able to believe what they want to believe. It's not for us to judge others. And also, if you say there is a God, which one is it? Because there's so many gods out there. And it's odd that in whatever country you're born in, and with whichever religion you're brought up with, that's always the one true God, and all the others are the wrong ones. So if you're going to go with the religion, which one are you going to pick? None of them seem to have that much evidence supporting them. The only religion I'd say is probably less likely is Jedi. I've got a feeling that one might not be 100% real. But it's classified as a proper religion. Also, I'm deviating massively. I keep going off on these tangents. I'm sorry. So we got married in Horncastle. It cost a lot of money. To me, it cost a lot of money. Now knowing, certainly with my stepmom and her kids, what they're paying for weddings, we paid a pittance in comparison. I think they're on about spending about £25,000 on a wedding, which to me seems ludicrous. I can't even imagine what £25,000 looks like, and what. And then to think, I've got £25,000, I'm going to spend it all on in a day on what is essentially a party to sign a bit of paper. My wife at the time, she really wanted a big wedding, but we couldn't really afford that, and we had she wanted all friends and family there. Whereas now, looking back, she's like, yeah, you're right. What we should have done is just gone on holiday and come back and said, yeah, we're married. Because at the end of the day, marriage is just a piece of paper. That's all the wedding is. A marriage is, spending a lifetime together, having a life, growing old, having a family. That's a marriage. It doesn't matter if you spent a few £100 or £100,000. It's still the journey is what the wedding is, what the marriage is, and how much you spent on the wedding doesn't factor into that. I know we spent, it was probably about £5,000, and I say we, that was actually largely contributed to by family, because even £5,000, we didn't have that kind of money at that time. I'd only just got out of debt, and I'd just gone through basic training where I thought I'd save loads of money and didn't. Turns out that wasn't overly well paid. So we saved money where we could, so we didn't pay for the cars. We had a registry office which was fairly cheap. We had my dad did most of the catering, having the restaurants and the patisserie at the time. I know my in-laws paid for the venue, and I got married in my military uniform. There's another reason for that as well. Like when you look back on wedding photos, say you got married in the 70s and you got married in massive flares and things like that, and I kind of didn't really want that. At least with military uniform, you look back and it's always going to look smart. It's never going to look unfashionable, because the same with most of my clothes. The reason I wear what I wear is I don't follow fashion, because if it's never in fashion, it's never going to go out of fashion. And that makes things so much easier. So we also hired a band. I say hired a band. I was prepared to hire a band. However, they said they'd do it for free. And this is another band I met playing in the pub a few doors down from us in Old Nicks. They came up. They were actually from near my hometown. They were from Colville, which is actually where I used to do my army cadets. It was within cycling distance of where I lived anyway, because I used to cycle there. So they're called Kid Clumsy, and they were meant to be performing at a wedding, but unfortunately, due to circumstances, I believe with the drummer, they ended up pulling out very last minute. Luckily, we'd also got a DJ. Otherwise, we'd have had no music at all at the wedding. So Kid Clumsy, by the way, they play it's like punk rock with humour. I think they called it at the time. And certainly some of their early stuff. It's not just the music. It was it's telling a story. So before they play a song, they tell you about the song, because otherwise, actually, the song probably wouldn't mean that much to you, and the song on its own wouldn't be funny. But when you know the story behind it, then actually you're laughing through the song then, and laughing at them and laughing with them, and being engaged rather than just simply listen to music. Which there's plenty of good, amazing musicians out there, but they need to make you want to listen. And Kid Clumsy did that really well, and I think they would have gone down really well at the wedding. I've got lessons learned written down here. The only thing that I can think of that I was thinking that is that, like I say, if we did it all over again, because we never had the money to go on a honeymoon or anything like that, we'd have used the money that we spent on the wedding and just gone abroad, gone to Las Vegas or somewhere like that, or a nice sunny country, and called it a holiday, and then come back married, or gone out, completely knowing that we were going to go out for a wedding and just invited a couple of people, and that was it, and just not made a big thing of it. So that's the lessons learned in that respect. You don't need to spend a lot of money to have a wedding. You don't need to spend a lot of money to have a marriage. A marriage is something that you work at, and you keep plucking away at when it gets difficult, because if you love each other, then that should be enough. That should be enough to overcome everything else, regardless of financial situation. Sorry, a bit of a tangent again. So, conscious of the time again. I keep saying I'm going to try and keep these to about 15 minutes, and it never happens because I just keep waffling on so much. So I apologise for that. Thank you for bearing with me, and please like and subscribe if you want to continue this journey and see where it all ends up. And I'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.